All right, well, we'll start on the gaming section of things because I finally beat the last boss
Oh
Oh,
no.
of the Elden Ring Erdtree Shadow of Erdtree DLC. And
Erdtree.
and I said I had a rant incoming, and so here's my rant coming, though I'm tired, so it probably won't be too ranty. Because I kind of people kind of went nuts praising this DLC,
Mhm.
and
I've actually heard people not like it.
I like it. I think it's a good DLC. I mean, it's also like it's basically like a second game, honestly. Like it's like a miniaturized sequel to Elden Ring. It's a whole new area of map, whatever. You got so many new bosses, all this other junk to do, tons of different weapons, a whole different leveling system that you take through the thing. I gotta help my dog again. Hattie, there's a time where she could just get impatient. But it's like people kept being like, "Oh, this map design is so cool! Like you see this place down there, and you're like, how do I get there?" And then you get there eventually, like, wow, I'm here. And I found it beyond utterly frustrating to circumvent this map because like normal Elden Ring, because normally in like Souls games, you don't have a map. You have just like the layout of the levels and you figure it out as you go and you kind of memorize it because it's usually really well interlaced and layered. And you're like, okay, I understand. I'm here, especially like Dark Souls is a master class at this of just like you have this kind of hub area that you keep circling back to and you're like, how am I here again? It's genius. But Elden Ring, the DLC, because the main game is like, big map, and you just kind of go in the direction you can see where it is. And you're like, I need to get to that point. I run that direction. That's as difficult as it is. But instead, the DLC is just like it's not wide, it's vertical. And so you have this area down here. You're like, oh, you can see on the map where the map shards are to fill in the map where you need to get to. And you're like, all right, what's over there? It's like, well, that's a 400-foot cliff that I can't go on. And so, how do you get to this part on the lower part of the map? Well, there's a little hole way up here in the top part of the map. There's a tiny little tunnel you go into. You can then get all the way down to the bottom.
You
So, it's like,
slightly.
there's literally no point in having a map in this DLC whatsoever because none of it leads where you think it's going to lead. It's all just like a big maze. And so comes to my complaint. There's just gonna be a bunch of complaints, and I'll give up positives in the end because I do think it was good. But I got very frustrated with this because it's also like they bring in the open world aspect of it, and like I said with the Elden Ring base game, the open world lent itself so well to a fact of if you found an area you couldn't pass because it's very like new Souls player friendly. It's like this is too difficult. I can go literally in any other direction because it's an open world flat map to where I can just find a new area, level up there, kill some things, figure out what's going on, or run away from an area that's harder and just kind of explore and have fun that way. But this is all just vertical and there's no real exploring and it ends up where I'm half the time I'm just on my horse thing running past everything. And that's the thing I don't like to do in Souls games. When I play a Souls game, I like to at least beat every enemy once before I start running through things like boss areas and stuff. And this I'm like I'm not going to waste my time in this overly imploded area with a bunch of worm things sticking out and a bunch of like little weird knife dudes chasing me around. I'm just going to ride past on the horse because there's literally no point in me doing this. And I found that very frustrating because like I'm just holding forward on the stick for a while, just kind of like every so often pulling with the map, be like, I think I'm heading in the right direction. I don't honestly know. Um, and then the last complaint I have is the boss complaint because I was telling Jared about this because he was like, why are you so angry about it? And I was like, well,
You
because
angry, bro?
in normal Souls, how they combat the difficulty, because Souls games have always been difficult, but how you combat that is you have the ability to summon friends or AI. So there's two chances there. You can summon up to two other people to go help you with a boss. And it makes it just like, I mean, you can literally just summon two people who are better than you and be like, okay, go do it. And I'll stand in the corner. Not the funnest way to do it, but it's 100% way to get past it. In this, they added these summoning systems. So you can get like these basically creatures from around the world that you just get spirits of them that you can summon and they go fight for you. But everyone ends up choosing the mimic. So it's basically just a copy of you. He goes and fights for you. And because you have this at every fight, anytime you want, they alter the boss fights to where it becomes this kind of like memorization game. I mean, Dark Souls are always about learning the patterns of enemies, but it loses a lot of organicness to it, in my opinion, because there's so much like take Lady Millennia, or I forget, I don't know, it's Millennia in the base game, the previously hardest boss in Souls history. There's a move where she does her thousand dagger, pew, 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 and it's like anyone who actually figures out how to dodge that without Googling it, good for you. You wasted too much time because it's just like you got to run back, roll like left, left, right, forward, left, left, up, down, down, B, B, X, Y, Y. I
Yeah,
don't
put
know.
a Mortal Kombat
You got to
code.
basically do a Mortal Kombat code. And so I come to the point there are several bosses in this one. There are two bosses that I said screw it because I'm a Souls purist. I like to do it just me with my sword, no summons, no upgrades or whatever. I mean, I level up and everything, but like I'll upgrade my sword, but I don't do like I don't put like grease on my weapon whenever I like to fight it mano y mano, you know? And so I did that to most bosses. There are two bosses. I was like, screw it. I'm not wasting my time. There's a big dragon at the top. You can't see anything. He's enormous. The camera's terrible. I immediately was like, nope, I'm summoning this dude that screams at him and throws bolts at him. I was like, he's just this AI guy that's literally screaming like almost like it sounded like he was like almost like preaching. He's just like
He's in
trying to convict this dragon to join his religion or something. I have no idea. But so I summoned for that one. I was like,
Scientology
I know.
thing.
Because I had heard, I was like, okay, this boss at the end is apparently the hardest in any Souls history. He beats out Millennia. He is the new hard big guy. I'm like, all right, I will fight him mano a mano and everyone else that I feel like mano a mano. But I came to a point at the end of this game where I'm like, if the Souls games continue in this direction, I will know this is it. I dropped the gauntlet is picked up. I no longer challenge it. I will summon crap every 2 ways. I don't care. I will take the Carlos route of laser cannoning it until it's dead.
Oh.
I don't care because the problem was I wasn't having fun with these fights. Like I was Johnny came over several times where we had binge sessions where I'm just fighting. He would try to. He actually got to the second phase of this boss, which is pretty cool because he's never played Souls at all. And I was like, let me just Google this really fast. I pulled up like one of my favorite Dark Souls fights. It's the clock tower fight, Lady something or other. I don't know names about names, but it's a DLC fight from Bloodborne. And you just see it and you see the organicness of these fights and how it just plays out. And it's not about it's about reacting and acting and being in the moment. It's not about, oh, here's this tell, back, back, left, left, forward, forward. You're like no, I want to be feel like I'm in a fight and like reacting in real time rather than just like waiting for I don't know the points. Anyway, so I summoned two things. It got to the end of the game. There was one boss. So I'll give one of my positives here. There's a boss called Mesmer. Super awesome boss. It was fair. It wasn't ridiculous. I had so much fun. Just it took me probably maybe 10 tries or so. I think maybe 10 to 15. But it just felt like those like classic Bloodborne fights. It was fast, it was frantic, but it was doable without having to look up like button combinations. And I was like, this is what it's about. This is so much fun. Apparently, he's one of like super hard ones too. But I was like, this was a well designed fight. All of his moves have you can see when and how to dodge. But then you come to this last bananas loser, man, the consort Radan. And if the first phase isn't that bad, he does spam a lot of moves sometimes, and he has some moves that are you have to kind of. I didn't realize you could dodge, which that was actually my bad. But I should have learned that. But I did Google it. I was like, oh, you can roll past it. Anyway, then you get to the second phase, and it just becomes AoE hell. Area of effect. Every move he does, it's from the first phase, but holy light shoots after whichever direction he's doing. And a lot of it's telegraphed. So like if he does it a forward slash, it shoots in a line. If he does a side slash, it shoots across him. Easy enough. But then he gets things where it's just like he's this like dance that comes flying at you. Like three different dance moves. I call them dance moves. I don't know. He does a pose, then it comes flying at you. I don't know. They look like dances. And each of them, I'm like,
He does a stand, Jared.
I'm either going to be here for 40 years just waiting to learn all these stupid moves and guessing left, right, up, up, back, back until I get it right, or I'm going to Google it. So I Googled it, watched a couple fights, like, okay, that's how you do it. Still utter pain in the butt because it's also like the hitboxes are, that's one thing that pisses me off more than anything in the game is if hitboxes aren't accurate. And there are times like the battlefield is like uneven. So I'll be in a ditch. He'll do a sideways slash. The sword's at least 5 feet above my head. Half my health bar's gone because this guy takes half your health bar at every single swing. So I lost my mind during this. It took probably, I mean, I fought this boss for probably 2 weeks. I took 2 weekends to do it, long, probably 6-hour sessions, and then I took the next week after that. I was like, okay, I got to play more often because I'm losing my memory of it, and so I spent each night that week doing a few fights until I finally beat it like 12 o'clock at night. And that was like I don't know. I found it so utterly frustrating. It wasn't fun in the slightest. Like it reminds me of like thinking back to the last boss in Bloodborne DLC is the Orphan of Kos. extremely hard boss fight, but I had so much fun doing it. I'm like, there's just no fun in these like compensated Elden Ring bosses where it's just like, hey, you're probably going to use a mimic, so we're going to make it so brutally stupid with these AoE attacks that you're going to get hit no matter where you are, because that's how we can try and balance the fact of this. When I'm like, there's already ways that make the game easier is summoning AI, summoning friends, whatever you need to do. You know, this like whole new mechanic I feel like is ruining the cadence of boss fights, and I'm very upset about it. So that's my rant about the Elden Ring DLC. I still liked it. It was fun. It was a lot of content for it was $40. That's true. It's a lot for DLC, but it was a lot of free. I mean, I probably spent 50, 60 hours in it, honestly. But it's just the map design I was not a fan of in several boss fights. I'm like, I won't, like I said, I won't do this again if it comes to the fact of I'm too old. I'm wasting my I spent probably 15 hours on a flipping boss fight to prove a point that wasn't worth proving.